everybody. Welcome to the 2020 Make It Big conference. I'm your host, Beatrice Este with BigCommerce, and today I'm here with Ryan Garrow, CEO of Logical Position. Thank you so much, Ryan, for being here with us today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. Before we dive in, I'd love to have you kick things off by introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about Logical Position and how you got started in e-commerce.
Well, thank you, Beatrice. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm excited to talk to BigCommerce merchants about how they can be growing their businesses and some of the strategies they can utilize. So myself, I've been in the digital marketing space over a decade. Helped start an agency in 2009 that we were then acquired by Logical Position about 5 years ago, and have stayed here since and enjoyed the ride and the growth within the e-commerce space. Most of the employees of Logical Position are younger than me, and they think I'm crazy because my wife and I also own 5 businesses. We have 4 kids between the ages of 2 and 7. And then we live on 8 acres, and so I get to do a lot of mowing. And so I'm rather busy, but enjoy quite a bit of it. And it's great because with our 5 businesses, we actually get to spend the money and tell clients and prospects and just companies in general where I'm spending my money and what's working for me. And it makes it just fun. I get to help companies grow all the time, and that's really what my passion is.
So let's just go ahead and dive right in. Why is it so important to personalize your customer segments?
Largely because it tells you how to push and pull levers appropriately to get the best customers and to get more of them. And so if you don't know what type of buckets your customers fall into, it's very difficult to know where you're going to find more of them and that you're acquiring the best customers. You know, most companies are going to grow through marketing and advertising online. And within that space, you have a lot of wonderful, creepy data from Google and Facebook that will allow you to target certain groups of people that make sense for your business and exclude some that just don't. And so finding that personalization and that segmenting will really allow you to push levers to grow the business. The more you know, the better off you're going to be as a business owner or a marketing team in finding that opportunity. It takes many forms, but you want to grow appropriately as a business. And so if you find a segment of customers that is really, really good as far as lifetime value, they love your brand, they come back and buy often, you want to understand that segment, how they found you, and then how you're going to scale them further, not only getting more lifetime value out of them, but how do you find more users like them? And there's certain segments that may buy one time and never buy again, that if that group of people is going to be buying only one time, maybe you have to take a certain amount of profit on that first order to be a sustainable business. But if there's a segment of people that you know is going to come back and buy from you, let's say 3 or 4 times over the next 6 months through your email programs or just social campaigns that are highly profitable for your brand, maybe you don't need all that profit on the first order. And you can actually get more aggressive to find those users. And so segmenting can take multiple iterations. It could be just around profiles and people that are buying lots. It could be around certain products, especially if you have different profitability among product lines. And you can track down, okay, people that buy this product overall generate more profit, or maybe they never buy because they bought this product and there's never a need for another product. So lots of different segmentation as far as understanding your customer and how you can push for more growth.
And speaking of goals, I know the holidays are basically already here. How do your customer segments change during this period?
The holidays are a unique time. We all know that. It's generally a high volume. Conversion rates increase quite dramatically. Competition increases dramatically across all of your advertising channels online. And so the more you know about who you want to be your customer, the more value you can have for them, but also push your ads a lot harder. And when you have remarketing segments built into your channels, such as Google or Facebook, you can target people that have bought from you in the past, or you can use remarketing lists for search ads to target people that have bought from you in the past, and maybe they're searching for a product that they didn't know you had before. And because you know something about them that maybe your competitors don't, you can decide to bid up or down as is appropriate. So it really allows you to be more efficient in your marketing the more you know about a customer and the larger database that you do have within your business. I would say in holidays, though, what most brands are not even doing yet is even segmenting their searches online from brand and non-brand, even in shopping. And so if you have your shopping campaigns set up in Google Ads, which is generally where most people are going to find you for the first time around the holiday season, understanding keeping your customers yours by covering your brand terms on Google Shopping, and then setting your goals around non-brand searches on shopping. Even that, starting at the very basics, isn't being done in most companies that I talk to. And so being able to do that says, all right, during the holidays, my past customers, I want to make sure that none of my competitors have the opportunity to get a shopping ad in front of them when they search for my brand plus product, or just my brand and Google's deciding to show shopping ads. Be aggressive, cover all of it. You're going to be highly profitable on your brand terms in shopping. You can't really set a goal around it though, because depending on how Google is setting up that search results page, it's going to fluctuate. It also depends on competitors and how they're bidding on text ads. Brand terms will just be profitable if you have a solid brand, but it's going to fluctuate. It might be 10x one day, it might be 30x another day. Just know that it's going to be profitable. And then for your brand, if you really want to grow, you set your goal around your non-brand acquisition. So people looking for your product or service on Google, that's where you set the goal. And you can set the goal differently for different periods of the year, depending on what that customer is going to do after they buy for the first time. You know, I had one client, it was probably about 3 years ago, knew that anybody that purchased during a holiday period was going to come back and buy from their brand 2 more times over the next 18 months. They just knew that's what the holiday customer does. They generally bought for a gift, and then they would come back and buy through their email programs 2 more times. And so what they were willing to do, their average order value was $100, profit margin was right about 50%. So we can just use easy math here. They would spend $100 to get $100 of revenue on non-brand searches on shopping. So technically, they spent $100 to get $100, they lost $50. But they knew that they were going to get 2 more $100 orders through email over the next 18 months. So they were going to make an additional $100 in profit by spending $50 now. So they were going to get a 100% return on their investment, and they were going to be able to keep those customers from going to their competitors. So that made them feel good because they were keeping their competitors from growing quickly. But also the CFO did the math and realized, I can't invest any cash we have in the bank at a better return for 18 months than spending $50 to turn out $100 more profit. And so it made a lot of sense for them to do that. Doesn't make sense for every brand to do that, but it's just an example of how you can really use customer segments and understanding your customer to be able to push for growth during a holiday period when there's so much opportunity. And I think this holiday is going to be we already know it's going to be unique, but I think it's going to be much bigger than the last few holidays that have already been very big, just because of the situation we're in with COVID and probably some stay-at-home orders coming.
So I know when it comes to customer segmentation, it's absolutely crucial that you have the right account structure set up. What's the best way to do this?
Yeah, so account structure is tremendously important when to be able to set the right goals. If you're using certain campaign structures, let's just use Google for example, because most e-commerce companies utilize Google for traffic. If you have one shopping campaign covering all of the searches in Google Shopping, you're not going to be able to set a goal around new to file customers or non-brand search because all of it's going into one campaign. Also, if you're using Smart Shopping. So Smart Shopping is not necessarily a bad campaign, but it does have its limitations if you're really trying to grow and scale a brand when you're doing brand versus non-brand customer acquisition. In Smart Shopping, all of these searches go into a big bucket, and you're telling Google basically, I want to spend this much, and I want to get this type of return. But you don't get any search queries. And what a lot of people don't realize is Smart Shopping also includes remarketing. So a lot of the sales that Smart Shopping is generating are remarketing. Again, not bad, but if you're also running a remarketing campaign, Smart Shopping takes priority, and the sales are going to go in there, and you won't know unless you know some deep analysis of Google Ads like our team does at Logical Position, but you won't know if that was a Google Shopping click or a remarketing click. You'll just know that the Smart Shopping campaign picked them up. And so Smart Shopping can be good in very certain circumstances, but if you really are trying to push and grow, that's not going to be the campaign structure for you. You're going to want to be able to set up a brand shopping campaign, again, to monopolize those search results when somebody's looking for your brand, and then a non-brand where you can actually set your goal and push for new customers, especially during a holiday period when there's so many new customers available for a brand. Being able to push that lever to say, yes, I want more, or right now I have a competitor that lost inventory or they ran out on one of their top products. I can get more aggressive on anybody searching for that product and not have to sacrifice maybe popping up in areas you don't want to because of a brand search or other things like that. Campaign segmentation is phenomenally important. You can also add a lot of layers to shopping campaigns as far as remarketing lists for search ads. When you have the data in your account, you can then say, hey, past customers that are searching, maybe it makes sense to bid up or bid down on them. If they've already been to your site before and they didn't purchase, does it make sense to come in front of them again on shopping campaign, or does it make sense to not bid on them again? All of those can be small little changes, but they're so magnified during a holiday shopping season when the volume of searches on Google increases dramatically, the conversion rates increase dramatically. You want, as a business, every small lever available to you to refine the data and push or pull back whenever it's appropriate, because those small things get magnified tremendously during a holiday season.
So let's shift gears here a little bit and talk about the concept of unlimited spend. I know you and I have talked about this in the past, and it's not really a term that most people naturally think of when they're looking to cut costs, but explain to us how you can look at your finances and cost structure in a way that you can actually break even.
Unlimited ad spend is a very nervous concept for most business owners. My wife and I go back and forth on this one because she defaults to ultra conservative, save money. Why would we ever have an unlimited ad spend that's not fiscally responsible? Which I can understand a lot of that. And the history of marketing says that as you're looking at a P&L and you see marketing line items, in a downturn or a recession, cutting some of that marketing spend can make a lot of sense for a business. It is responsible to do that. But we're in a time period here where we have Google ads and Facebook ads that operate a little bit differently than a lot of marketing channels in the past. If you put up a billboard on a freeway, it's great for branding, great for awareness, but you might not know what it's actually doing for the business. You won't know that, hey, I spent $10,000 on a billboard and I got $100,000 of business because of that billboard. If the billboard evaporates, I wouldn't get that. That's generally not available on a billboard. But with Google, you generally know exactly what it's doing for your business. And so as you spend money on Google, you see that money coming in. And so that P&L line item of, say, $20,000 a month, you say, oh, I need to save that money or protect my business by not spending money frivolously on marketing so I can pay employees. So I'm going to move that $20,000 off of Google and put that maybe into payroll or put it in the bank so that I have a cushion should things get really bad. Now, the problem with Google Ads, when you do that, is you also lose that top line revenue and any bottom line profit that was generated from those ads. And so you have to be careful. In many accounts, there is some waste that should or could be cut out. But often, business owners get a little bit too aggressive in cutting Google Ads to save money, and it actually sends their business in a downward spiral, and they have difficulty recovering from it because they won't necessarily know what caused it. And so I, as a business owner, have an unlimited ad spend whenever possible. And I want it to grow and I want to expand my business and I want to get a lot of new customers because I know the more new customers I have in my file, the better my email is going to produce, the more often they're going to come back and buy from me. Now, I do have a business that people will come back and buy from me. I do have margin on the product that allows me to do different types of marketing and get aggressive and maybe more aggressive than some of my competitors. But again, it's all about being able to understand the right goal to acquire a customer at the right time and scale that as fast as possible. And so Google Ads generally, though, won't be a cash crunch on a business. So if a business owner understands that, hey, by spending more on Google, it's not causing any cash issues in my business. So that line item on a P&L may get bigger, but they also generate top line revenue and bottom line profit as well. It's not a typical P&L line item that you can eliminate like rent and actually see that money directly on the bottom line. And so setting the goals appropriately, saying, hey, if I want to break even on a new customer to my brand, I should have an unlimited spend at break even or higher. If you're losing money, that's when it becomes a cash crunch. Losing money on purpose. Not every business needs to do that. There are a few that will do it, and it makes sense from a financial perspective to lose it. I won't go on that tangent on this exact answer, but there are some opportunities there to lose money appropriately to get new customers, depending on what the structure of your business and what your goals are overall for the business. But unlimited spend on non-brand searches for sure is something a business owner should consider.
And most importantly with that too, how can you scale this over time?
Google Shopping is probably the most scalable customer acquisition channel that we have right now. There's also channels around Amazon, Walmart, Facebook, Pinterest, even TikTok is getting some attention from some of our advertisers. But Google, most people spend money to understand there, so I'll stay on that one. So to scale effectively on Google, you need data. You need to be able to get granular. You need to be able to see where that spend is going and what it's actually doing. And so what I'll do is I break up my campaigns on brand, non-brand. And on non-brand, I'm going to have each product in its own ad group, and I'm going to label it in a way that I can track that transaction back, that click to a transaction in Google Analytics. So I want to know what product are they clicking on, and then I can look at transactions in Google Analytics and see what did they actually buy. Because what surprises me every time in the data is that more than 50% of the time, and it doesn't really matter what business you're in, people buy something different than what they clicked on from Google Shopping. And this, again, surprises me because that's not how I shop. And I think I'm normal, but when I look at data, I realize that I'm actually the abnormal one where I see something on Google Shopping, I click it, I buy it. I already knew how much it cost. I knew if it had free shipping or free taxes at that point. I knew the reviews going into it. So it's very simple for me. I click, I buy. Everybody on the planet can track my transactions when I buy something online. I'm very simple. What's more typical is what my wife does. And her transaction path and her attribution is like a bowl of spaghetti where she is all over the place. She comes in on this noodle, jumps to that noodle, hits some sauce, runs into a meatball, and then she's all over the place. You cannot track her attribution in an analytics profile. It just doesn't exist because she'll click on an ad here, then she'll come back on another device and go organically to the same site or go direct or find them on social media and then come back through that. She's all over the place, but that's normal. And so understanding that about how people are converting in a normal pattern, Google Shopping is a phenomenal tool for customer awareness and people finding you for the first time. And if you can break even on Google Shopping on non-brand search, so people looking for your product or service, you are making a lot of money on that product, on that person, or on that search on Google Shopping. Because Google Shopping also introduces more people to your brand than it actually closes. And so going into the attribution section of Google Analytics, and the conversion paths, you can actually start seeing Google Shopping is generating this much on a first click basis and is generating this much on a last click basis. And Google Shopping assists in more conversions generally, if it's set up right on non-brand brand stuff. It assists other channels on Google Analytics than it actually takes credit for. And so often, an easy number I see often is Google Shopping, this campaign for non-brand search, generating $10,000 of revenue in Google Analytics. It actually assisted in $15,000 to $20,000 of analytics revenue that it didn't get credit for on how Google Analytics attributes revenue. And so you'll see a lot of that. And so I also know there's like this halo effect in Google Shopping where the more you spend in Google Shopping, the more organic traffic you get and the more email traffic you get and the more direct traffic you get. In fact, there's a great BigCommerce client that we worked with. We started in early May with them. And we talked a lot about strategy going into it. And they had been doing some other things offline, but hadn't really focused on Google Ads before. And I said, based on your pricing and SKU count, you really should be advertising in Google Ads, specifically Google Shopping. And so they decided to do a 3-month test with us to see. Their biggest channels were Walmart and Amazon, and the website was kind of this little entity that was kind of cute, but didn't really move the needle for the business. It was averaging about $16,000 a month in revenue. And so we flipped on Google Ads in May. And in April, they did $16,000 in revenue. In May, they did $191,000 in revenue. And $115,000 of that came from Google Shopping, which they spent $2,500 on. And their organic traffic went from $10,000 to $45,000 in revenue in the month of May. There was no seasonality. They didn't do any SEO. There was simply the halo effect of their Google Ads driving people organically as they did their research around the internet. And that's an extreme example, and that doesn't happen to that extreme every time. I mean, very few businesses in their first month can spend $2,500 in ads and generate $115,000 in revenue. They were set up very well, and they had just not been doing anything in that space. Like, I think that online business is now on par with Amazon and Walmart for their brand, and I think it's probably going to do $5 million in 2020 just because of the scale they have within Google Ads. And they weren't even trying to make a lot of profit on Google Ads. They just wanted to get it up and running, and it turned out it was phenomenally profitable for them, and they're going to continue scaling. And they're at a space now where I believe they have an unlimited budget and continue to grow. So if you're competing with them, I apologize, kind of, but they're doing very well.
And in addition to search, what are a few other mediums where you can segment your customers for further growth?
Another area of segmenting that is relatively new, so a lot of businesses haven't been doing it yet, is screens across Google. And so I love seeing this segmentation in the Google Merchant Center because it's now their what they call free shopping. It's the organic shopping clicks. And so Google is really trying to create an environment where people can see more and more products, even if they're not advertising. I believe that them trying to compete with kind of the Google or the Amazon app is what they're trying to accomplish there. And so if you go into the Merchant Center, you can see if you spend money on Google, you'll see Google ad spend there, and you'll see the searches and the clicks you got in the Merchant Center. You'll also see your impressions on screens across Google. And this is really Google's trying to find areas for organic traffic on shopping. And so as long as you send a feed to Google, you can now show in the areas below, if you click on the shopping tab on Google, there's an area below the paid ads where there'll be a ribbon of paid ads at the top that say sponsored. And then below that, there's a section, it's a box you can scroll down. It will be free to the advertiser. And there's a little about button you can click on, and it'll tell you that Google doesn't get paid for these clicks. So this area is valuable because if you optimize a feed and include reviews and descriptions and titles that are appropriate, you can get an okay amount of traffic. It's not a huge volume yet, but I think Google's really going to be emphasizing this area of Google Shopping to try to drive more value for their advertisers. But even if you can't advertise, for example, companies that are selling CBD products, they can't advertise on Google and Facebook, but they can send a feed to Google and still get clicks organically in the shopping section. And there can be a lot of value there for CBD companies that wasn't there as of 4 months ago. So that's one area that I think segmenting can be very, very valuable. I also would caution people to start digging into the details of what's showing in shopping as your ads are showing to be able to see what's moving the needle. If you have a Google team that can dive into some of this data for you or start looking at click share in certain areas of your account, there can be some significant value there. And going into this holiday season, I would challenge a lot of businesses to start looking at, can you get into the free and fast program within Google? That's a phenomenal opportunity. The numbers around it are pretty astounding. The increase in conversions and revenue just by having the free and fast badge, which Google is saying the consideration on shopping, on shipping time is a huge deciding factor on, am I going to buy from this merchant or another merchant? So something to look into for sure if you haven't gotten that badge yet, or that annotation as Google's calling it. I would look at that.
So before we wrap, I know you mentioned early on in our conversation that you're a business owner. What's been your aha moment when managing your businesses?
The epiphany I've had in my decade of experience is getting to the point where you are focusing your business on lifetime value of a customer. And too often, e-commerce businesses get focused on that initial order. And I just got to get people through the door, get that one order, and then they ignore them in the future. And so some brands don't even have products that they try to cross-sell, 2 or 3 months later. Other brands say they haven't even been doing email to bring them back into the brand. And so I, as a business owner, am focused 100% of the time on what is that lifetime value for my customer? How do I add enough value that they keep coming back to me so I don't have to buy them over and over again? I see this marketing cost. We've managed probably billions of dollars in ad spend at Logical Position, and it's expensive. And getting those customers is not easy. And so by keeping your customers coming back to you regularly, you don't have to constantly be buying them. And so focus on that. And I am never going to not be marketing for new customers because I want to be the biggest and the best in my industry. It's not an option for me. I always set up a business that I think I can dominate the competition in. And so keep the marketing on, but understand the huge value and profit of bringing people back into your brand regularly, getting that direct traffic, getting that email, getting that organic traffic going. But use marketing to seed all of that. And I think business owners get too tentative on that marketing dollar because they're focused just on initial profit from Google Ads when there's so much future profit that you're limiting yourself because you're only willing to spend maybe $1,000 on Google, whereas if you spent $10,000, you would increase your market share and your customer database would increase maybe tenfold on a monthly basis. That would be phenomenal, and your overall business would grow so much faster. So it's just, I think that my focus on lifetime value allows me to scale businesses very quickly that I've been working on and that I own. And a lot of other business owners kind of get stuck in, they want to grow, but they're timid and they don't see that lifetime value that I've seen so often.
And last but not least, for those tuning into this session, what are a few key takeaways you'd like them to walk away with?
To wrap up, the 3 takeaways I have for e-commerce brands going into this holiday season is, number 1, analyze what happened last year as far as your promotions, what your competition did or didn't do, and the results you got before and after the holiday period, and let that guide what you're going to be doing this holiday. 2, get aggressive. You're probably going to need to lower your return on ad spend goals, and you want to get to the point where you can have an unlimited ad spend, specifically on non-brand shopping, because it has such a halo effect on the rest of your business. And the last point would just be, if you don't have non-brand shopping in your campaigns right now on Google and Microsoft ads, you need to get them in there. The ability to scale and push your business into capturing more market share is unparalleled during the holiday season through Google Shopping. Get non-brand shopping campaigns.
Awesome advice. Well, thank you so much, Ryan, for joining us and being part of the 2020 Make It Big conference.
Yeah, thank you, Beatrice. I appreciate it. It was great talking.
That was a great session with Ryan Garrow, CEO of Logical Position. Be sure to engage with us on social media using the hashtag MakeItBigConf and share what you've learned. If you're looking for more insights, be sure to tune in to more Make It Big conference sessions by heading over to www.bigcommerce.com/makeitbig.